Hi, I'm Paul Battaglia. This is a brief overview of Chapter 4, Trigonometry. One of the things you might want to do with your class before you even begin the chapter is have an idea of if they know any trigonometry to begin with. Maybe do an informal assessment or even more formal one, a survey of some sort, just to see if they've covered any of the trigonometric ideas that you're going to talk about in Chapter 4. Now see, one of the things that you might find is that they've seen some of this material in a previous Algebra 2 course, although probably not to the level that we're going to get into in Chapter 4. So we start Chapter 4 with a discussion on radian measure. And for many students, this might be not necessarily an introduction, but the idea of radian measure as it compares to degree measure is very important. So you're going to want to make sure students are fluent in both radian and degree measure. And for this, you're going to need to spend a little bit of time. Once we go from the idea of radian to degrees and back and forth, we tackle the idea of coterminal angles. And this sets us up nicely for right triangle trigonometry. Now, students have no doubt seen right triangle trigonometry, maybe even in a geometry class before. However, the extent to which we're going to cover it is much more vast. What we're going to do here is we're going to try and get the students to build the unit circle. And if we can get students to do that, then they can evaluate any angle and the trigonometric values of any angle. What this will do is lead nicely into graphing trig functions. The emphasis will be slightly heavy on sine and cosine functions, but we'll definitely get in depth into the tangent and cotangent functions, as well as the secant and cosecant functions. From here, we'll end up the chapter by talking about inverse trig functions and how they relate to the original trig functions. I hope these tips have been helpful, and you'll find much success in Chapter 4.